Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. We're a bunch of mega fans giving you the news, discussion, and of course, a whole lot of opinions about Brandon's works and the Cosmere. We're not talking about the Cosmere today. Joining me on video is Ian.
Hey, I'm WeiryWriter.
Also joining me is Grace, the Lord of Gators.
I'm Grace, Callsign, GatorGirl.
Oh, we should have done, yeah.
Yeah.
Also joining us is Ben.
Hey, I'm Overlord Jebus in the forum. My call sign is Callsign.
And lastly is Shannon.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shannon, Callsign Gray, as you will know me on the Discord and Grey Watch on the forums.
I liked going chaos, Callsign chaos on Discord. That was fun.
It was really good.
So, Skyward just came out. So, first of all, spoiler warning, right? So, we're talking about our Skyward reactions. And so you've had a week to do this. We didn't post this last week. So you guys have had time to read the book. And so we're going to get in right to our Skyward reactions. And let's just start with, what did you guys think?
Loved it. Such a good book.
It's very good.
It's
my
really
God.
good.
I really, really liked it.
It's my favorite non-Cosmere by far, and beats out many Cosmere books, actually, in my opinion.
Yeah,
oh
actually, like it's
Yeah,
pretty
I completely
great.
agree. It is
Yeah.
by far the best non-Cosmere with. I mean, I'm not gonna. I've read any other non-Cosmere, so I can't really say.
It's number one
But in
of
my
one.
opinion, it's the best non-Cosmere that I've read.
Yeah.
I don't know if that opinion tracks, but we'll take it.
For me, it's better than Reckoners by far. But
Yeah, it is. better than Reckoners.
Arithmetist is perfect.
See, I like this better because I know we will actually get a sequel next year.
But sometimes you just have those books that speak perfectly to your soul. It's like, this was written for me.
Yeah.
That's
Aw.
Arithmetist for me.
That's not
so
Arithmetist for me.
Yeah,
It's
I have
really hard to beat that.
this might be a gendered thing, but like Spencer was more, she meant more to me than like Joel from Arithmetist. It was sort of like,
That
that
makes
was
sense.
Skyward to me, I think, is probably what Arithmetist is to you. It was just like that kind of emotional connection I had to our central character, Spencer. Like, I was just like, oh, angrily defensive young woman who like has to like go on and try and, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's
Do-
core of me.
Do we want to just talk about Spencer right now? I mean, that's a fine segue
Sure.
into
I
Spencer.
Yeah, she's like the whole point of it. Yeah, let's talk about Spencer. I love her. Love her.
I loved her arc, but I will say there was one part where like she was just mean to Morningtide for like no reason, and then later she's like, wow, I was too mean to her. I'm like, no crap, Spencer. What are you doing? Like,
That's the entire point of her character was
No,
sort
I
of
know.
like that first realization she has when she walks into the room and realizes that none of them like know who they are except for like Jorgen and like the other ones.
yeah.
Like the whole point is her like letting go of her defensive anger and just sort of like being able to find out what kind of person she is outside of that. So it's sort of like, yeah, it is tough at the beginning, but like it was so good to see her like actually grow past that and fairly quickly, I thought.
I thought it was really good. Like when the book started, I was kind of a bit like, I wasn't the biggest fan of her. I was like, is this the whole big speech things? Is this going to be a continuous thing that she's always going to do? But like, even she kind of realized, this is kind of a dumb thing to be doing all the time, and like kind of realized that she had flaws, and she realized those flaws, and throughout the book, she worked on those flaws, and it was like, this is a really good, like,
And they were
character
also
arc.
pointed out that was like, that was a little silly. And one of my favorite parts was when M-Bot is just going on the tirade of like saying things that Spencer said, and Spencer's like, is that what I sound like? And there's just no response. It's like,
Yeah. And
oh.
it's to throw Windy under the bus
Yes.
because he thought that aspect of Spencer was really childish. Like he talked about it in the Discord.
Yeah.
He's not here to defend himself, but and
He's still in
yes,
Costa
it
Rica.
is
Okay.
childish. And
she's
I-
so self-aware of it though. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's sort of it's not even something that's sort of like, I feel like other authors might have done this in like the last quarter or something of the book and have that big realization. I love how this was handled. It's sort of like this is like slow, steady, gradual growth. She's constantly becoming aware of herself and like improving and like going on to the next step.
Yeah.
Which I really appreciated. She was self-aware of it like very early, I thought.
But the whole Mbot scene where it was like she saw it from an outside perspective.
Yeah.
That was the point where she realized, like, oh. Yeah.
Well, she was
Super
like at
child.
that point she had already stopped doing that a lot, so it was sort of like she had that emotional distance. Like I feel like if Mbot had done that at the beginning, it would have been like, oh yeah, this is great. This spaceship is awesome. Totally fitted to me. But she had stopped doing that for a while. She had like grown up, and then Mbot does that, and she has that like, you know, that feeling like whenever you look back at your younger self and you're like, oh my God, I was such an idiot.
That was
Yep.
that was dumb.
Like just that it wasn't like all this character growth. It wasn't like immediate. It was kind of, it was strung out. It was kind of like, for example, the speeches thing. She was doing it, then she kind of still wanted to do it, but kind of realized that it didn't feel right to do it. And then she was still wanting to do it, but she was like, I really doesn't feel right to do it right now. And then she kind of did it a little bit when when two of the characters died in that one battle.
Morningtide and Bim.
Yeah, when they died, then she kind of did a little speech, and she was like, that felt nice because everyone liked that one, but it still felt wrong for me to be doing it. And then at that point, she kind of didn't make any more and then Mbot did that scene, and she was like, yeah, I'm glad I don't do that anymore.
That's really funny. No, but actually one thing I really liked about that was sort of when like all of the way she was at the beginning, it's like not all of that was totally villainized or totally condescended about. You know, there were some parts of it that were actually encouraged. It was sort of like her teammates actually really liked her passion and were encouraged by like her fighting spirit, which I really liked. It wasn't as if, everything about her, the way she was at the beginning was wrong. It was some parts of it were actually quite good. She needed to learn how to temper it, but I liked how like her core personality of like wasn't kind of looked down on, you know?
Yeah.
Grace, what do you think?
So I think Spencer, I did not love her at the beginning, but she definitely grew on me. By the end, I really liked her. I think for me, how much I liked Spencer can actually be pretty much followed by how much she likes Jorgen. Which is, thinking about it, I think as she started to like him more, I started to like her more. Which is interesting.
I mean,
I wonder why that's the case, Grace.
Jorgen is great. And I thought Spencer was unduly mean to Jorgen. Like, the first scene, I'm like, man, Jorgen's a jerk. But then he just immediately proves himself being a competent pilot. And I really liked that Spencer didn't, like, become the flight leader just, like, immediately in that first scene. And she was just shown up that, like, oh, yeah, no, I'm going to crash a lot. And, you know, I need to work at this. Whereas Jorgen already did that work, so he was flight leader. And there was that scene where Spencer just says, I'm calling you jerkface, and that's you know, his call sign from then on. And I was just like, Spencer, that was a little mean. Like, he's doing his best. And even when, you know, Jorgen said, oh, she's the daughter of the traitor, and then you're like, okay, that wasn't great, Jorgen. But like, you're still, throughout the book, you still like, you're trying your best. And I always thought that Jorgen was really great because of that.
Jorgen is great. That scene where he says that she's the daughter of the traitor, it's not his best moment, but like up until then, Spencer was just pushing him and pushing him and pushing him. And it's like,
you're not wrong though. Like, Spencer early in the book, that's what she did. You know? With Spencer though, we can talk more about Jorgen, Grace, don't worry. It was nice that anything that you were like maybe slightly annoyed with, like Spencer being like, whoa, that was a little much, that was usually like talked about in fairly short order. Like, you weren't like strung along for chapters where like she feels unlikable because like her growth is a slow burn and it feels natural. And so you're not like, oh, you were mean to Morningtide, but then Morningtide and Spencer like got along and you realized what was going on, and Spencer realized what an idiot she's been as well. And so that helps a lot.
It was a slow burn, but it was like constantly progressing. There wasn't just, like, it wasn't a series of jumps. It was like a curve of like change.
So like I never felt frustrated. I always felt like because something was always progressing.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, and like I understand Spence's like outbursts and like anger at Jorgen and some of the others. It was sort of like defensive anger really, really blinds you. It's sort of like if you're always living on the defensive. She had reasons to be angry at like the first class kids.
That's
you know,
true.
it wasn't based on nothing. It was sort of like when she watches those kids actually get what she felt like she deserved, like from her father. She had her own pilot's pin in a different world. Like she would have actually probably been one of them.
Yeah. And that's probably the best part of the arc is that they do get along eventually.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
At the beginning, Jorgen is jerkface, and he's not really a person to Spencer. Like,
right.
He is the embodiment of all of the
wrongdoing,
horrible way her family has been treated.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't matter that he's put a lot of work into this.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, and
well, like that's the fact.
time,
she didn't even realize he put in the work at the beginning. Yeah. So it was sort of like we only get to know Jorgen, whatever. I'll say it both ways.
We'll just alternate, and put your angry comments below.
Yeah. So like we get to know Jorgen's character like the more that Spencer does. Like as she starts to let go of her defensive anger and start to give him a chance, that's when we start to get to know him. I actually was really scared when we saw that scene. She overhears that conversation between Jorgen and Cobb, where he was sort of like, they don't respect me. And he's like, I have to bring them in line. And I was sort of like, oh no, is he actually going to be like this kind of leader who has to like beat everyone into submission? And he turned out not to be like that. Like, you know, he actually took the right lesson from that, even though his first automatic emotional instinct was like that, like this anger about them not respecting him. But he does the right thing that a leader needs to do. It's like he takes it and, you know, just keeps trying to do it the right way. But we don't see that until Spencer does.
Right.
Before we move on from Spencer, I feel like one of my favorite scenes with her was that scene where she kind of realizes, she has the moment of realization, acknowledgement that I want to be this great warrior, but I am not this great warrior.
Yeah.
And she acknowledges that, and she's like, I can't think of many, like, you know, she's not the best pilot. She's good, but she's not the best. She's not the best shot. She's good, but she's not the best at pretty much anything. And then she kind of, it was when she was, it was a moment where she was scared of something, and she was like, you know, great warrior wouldn't be scared of this right now. Why am I so scared? And it was like, man, like I've never seen like Brandon write a character who the gulf of what they want to be and who they actually are has ever been so massive.
That's really
like,
true. Yeah.
Like, you know, Adolin wants to be this great duelist in Stormlight Archive,
but
he is.
And he's just already there. We don't see the beginning of that. He's just like automatic. He's just great from the beginning.
Yeah, we kind of just see all the characters we see are already pretty good at what they want to be good at. And
like part of that realization, Ben, like what scene really stuck in my mind was the realization that like she's thinking about the way she talks and like the way she does that, and then she realizes like, wait, like my father was a great hero and he never talked like that. Maybe I don't need to do that in order to be this great person I want to be. And so like that was like to me like the emotional connection of like of letting go of that was part of the realization. My father wasn't like this. I don't have to be like this in order to be great.
Yep, for sure.
And to talk about going back to her relationship with Jorgen and how it's her perception of him shifts. There's the scene where they go out to get what's her name's body?
FM.
FM.
Oh, no, Hurls. FM lives.
Sorry,
FM lives to the end.
Sorry. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And it's at that point where she realizes she doesn't hate Jerkface anymore.
Right.
And she starts thinking of him as Jorgen.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite sequences.
I totally agree.
Yeah, it was so great because she
where,
reaches out. She trusts him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're completely divorced from everything outside of them. It's just the two of them in a car. they don't have all the baggage, so Spencer can kind of get over it.
That's such a great point. They have like physically going outside of like the walls of the city, so like the city's culture isn't part of this relationship anymore after that. I like that.
I would say Skyward was so good in pacing character moments and action scenes, and like you had a big fight, but then you have the fallout from all these fights, and you know, you got Spencer talking with Mbot, who's, you know, not operational for most of the book, which is a nice reprieve from war fighting Krell and everything. And that scene where they found Pearl was just that was such a great sequence.
I think that was just after they get the 6 weeks leave, isn't it? That's when that
the 1 week leave.
Oh, so the 1 week leave. My bad.
Yeah.
And I remember because that was the only when they were like, oh, you've got a week's leave, and she was like, oh, maybe I'll go see my parents, or go see my mother and my gran. And then I was like, I just said the book is so well paced. That was the only point in the book where I was like, oh, I don't want her to take a break and go see her mother and her gran. I want something else to happen. And then that happens where she goes off to get Elt's body. And I was like, that was the only point where I was worried the pace was going to slow down. And then it doesn't. And it carried on as normal. And even when she does then go see her mother and gran, it was perfectly fit at that point. It was really good.
It well foreshadowing for the reveal. It's in chapter 17 of what universe this is in, and so maybe Grace, Grace should talk about what universe Skyward is in.
So Skyward is in the same universe as Defending Elysium.
And you called it.
Yay.
You did it.
I did
Good job,
call it.
Grace. Yay, you did it. Yay.
So the word that gives it away is cytonic.
Yes.
Cytonics are the magic system thing in Defending Elysium.
Magic system.
Like psychic power stuff.
The psychic powers.
The end of that story gets weird with like mind blades and stuff. Like, okay.
I love mind blades. That's like one of my favorite little words that Brandon's come up with. Mind blades.
I don't know. It just sounds like what a 13-year-old would write in some sense. Like mind blades. Like,
you know what
I
I like about the way Brandon names things is sort of like he's not afraid to do that, to go to that level of like, hey, listen, this is what someone might actually call them, instead of like coming up with like a cool, like a like extra level name. It's sort of like people might actually just call them mind blades because that's kind of what they are.
Yeah.
I get it. Like,
yeah.
Spencer is a cytonic, and that engine crew is lineage.
We're all
they're
cytonics.
And which let you do hyper.
The deviants. The what do they call them?
Deviations or defects.
Yeah, defects.
They call them.
That's what they call them after,
now.
but they called them something different when they were actually the current engineers.
Right.
Yeah, Gran was sort of like back then, like they called us like the deviations or something like that.
Well, it's the ability to use cytonics was the deviation back then, and now it's the defect.
Right. Yeah. So that's good. I will just say that even though cytonic was totally mentioned in chapter 17, I completely missed this on my first read because I saw reference to Empire in the Stars. I'm like, hi Empire, firstborn baby, I'm in. And then at the end when Spencer does the, by the way, the ending was so good, right? Like when Mbot's just like, cytonic hyperdrive engaged, and it was like, yeah, that was great.
That was a kick-ass moment.
It was so good. And then I'm like, oh, it's Defending Elysium. Oh, I'm an idiot. Oh, so good. What a great avalanche, and what a great sequence of action scenes. Like, the one that sticks out in my brain is the first time when the shipyard comes down. Like, whoa.
Oh, yeah, God, that was fantastic. Like,
good.
Yeah, just the idea of, like, this absolutely unbelievable. And he did a really good way of conveying just the sheer size of it. At no point does he, like, withheld. He's like, this thing is massive. This thing is a mountain. It's coming down. It's earthquakes across the planet. This thing is huge. It takes several minutes to get from, like, just anywhere in it. And I was like, I'm liking this.
And you're going inside of it. It just gave me like flashbacks to like playing Rogue Squadron games on like
Oh
the
my
Star Wars
gosh, you
games
played Rogue
and
Squadron?
like going inside like Death Star.
I was gonna
2,
make a Star
right?
Wars reference. I'm
Yeah.
like them going into the Death Star.
Yeah,
like, I
no,
was like,
exactly.
yeah.
No, it's exactly like that. And
They're
you're
flying
going
their
through
ships at full speed within a whole other like space structure.
Well,
yeah.
They weren't going full speed. But.
Very much enjoyed that.
Yeah. So what are some of favorite moments?
Oh,
We've been mentioning a lot of them.
we
but-
have mentioned a few already.
I think my favorite, like, just one line was just like when she realizes that Cobb is flying Mbot to save her.
Oh.
I think I screamed and like dropped my phone, and I was like, oh my god.
Oh, can we also talk about how hilarious and awesome Cobb is? We haven't mentioned Cobb at all. He is amazing.
I love him so much. He's such a good guy.
He's
Good man.
so grumpy, but so great. And he's great because he's grumpy.
Yeah. I remember, Gray, you made comparisons to Ender's Game.
I
and-
did right from the beginning.
Yeah, and there's that instructor, the one, not the one that's the teacher for the main bit, but the teacher at the end, the hero.
Yeah,
from
the guy who's
battle.
played by Tommy Lee Jones. I never
That's-
actually watched the movie.
Me either.
It's awful. Don't worry about it. And yeah, that teacher in that where he's kind of kick-ass, but you could tell he really, really cares. Like that, I've really enjoyed. Like
The scene where he comes in after Hurl refuses to eject and just like
Yes.
screaming
Oh.
angry. I was just sort of like, it was really sad, but it was like that moment, like when the kids realize how much Cobb cares about them.
Yeah.
He's like, you Scud and eject.
And you know through that conversation that it's like Spencer's gonna try and not eject. I know. We know this. It's been mentioned so much, and Spencer cares about this so much. She's gonna try and not eject. But it's like, yes, good.
That moment of realization she has when she's in Mbot and she realized like she does eject versus the moment that she does
Well,
not,
she didn't eject from Mbot.
does versus doesn't. She ejects like from her Poco.
Yeah.
And ruins it, but then she doesn't eject from, and like her moment of realization when she was like, I am like she knows for certain I am not a coward. You know, it's sort of like when I know there's nothing to be gained by this, then I'll eject to save my life. But now that I'm actually on the line, she feels totally at peace. She feels confident. She knows that this is like what she has to do.
Yeah.
And
That
it
was a
was
great
just
moment.
her moment.
So, is that your moment, Gray?
There are so many.
top
I guess
moments.
like
Yeah.
I might change it later. I might come back and be like, oh,
We're
yeah,
just
but I
talking
think-
about cool things in the book, you know.
Because
Can
my
I pick
favorite,
just one?
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
my favorite moment was when Gran is telling the story of like the Defiant coming to Detritus.
Lore.
like-
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, no, my mother was the engine. She was the soul of the engine.
Yeah,
It's
you're
like,
like, oh. The whole lore of everything is so interesting, and we just got such a fraction, which is like,
I know.
good thing we're getting some sequels because holy crap, we got some
Yeah.
stuff and world building to talk about here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh, a moment that really like, I'm not sure this isn't like a big awesome moment, but this is the moment I had to stop and be like, oh, this just gave me chills. Like I might be afraid. It was like when Cobb like leans into Spence's pod and he's like talking about the eyes for the first time. Like that just
if
like
you see
I was
those-
like, so oh my god, what the hey? I was
Yeah.
like, the eyes. And then Spencer's like, holy crap.
I see
He's
those.
like-
Oh,
He's
no.
like, no, I'm not gonna say it.
I found that part very exciting
Oh yeah.
because
Oh, it was exciting, but it was also like spine chilling. Like
Yeah.
because it reminded me of Brennan tried to write a novella titled The Eyes
oh,
Yeah,
like,
okay.
in 2016.
Yep.
And which that's a topic for another
Okay.
podcast. but-
Yeah, well, maybe a little later. Grace, what top moment for you?
So I'm thinking. I think my top moment was when Spencer and Jorgen
I knew
were
I knew-
talking,
I know. I know.
and Jorgen was just like, yeah, like this is my future. I'm going to be here for 6 months as a pilot, and then I'm going to drop out and become a politician. And, you think that you have all this stuff against you, but you're more free than I will ever be. I just loved that scene between the two of them, because it's just like, wow, like he's right.
Yeah. Responsibility.
Yeah.
It
was just interesting to find, like, in a way that, like, Jorgen actually, like, envies Spencer a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, before that, like, that's the kind of first time you actually see the reversal. It's sort of like Spencer looks at Jorgen and sees everything that she missed out on, or that she could have had and didn't. And then here's Jorgen being like, no, it's not that way at all.
Yeah.
That's like the first time you get to, like, Spencer's like, oh, maybe things aren't the way I thought they were.
That's the best part about Spencer, is that she is wrong and realizes that she's wrong, and it's an organic growth.
Yeah. If I had to choose a non-Jorgen related moment, I love the scenes of Rig just like nerding out about becoming an engineer.
Yeah, that was good.
Forget about Rig. Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
I really liked him. His scenes were good when he was fixing up Embot.
I just like how organic it was to see so many people of Skyward Flight fall out, like, and drop out, and Rig dropping out fast was like, oh, that was, okay. Yeah. And it was good that we got to see him again and see him, become into his own, and like, yeah, that's not my dream, and I'm really happy to be an engineer. Also, I'll help you with this ship. That's fine. Like, yeah. And that was good. There was just so much tension, but in the whole book, it was like, oh, people do die. They can die.
I was so afraid every time they went up, because so afraid. It was like, and like that's part of the pacing, was that he uses the slow scenes so well that, like, when they actually do go up, you're just in fear. Like,
he did a really good job, because two of them died the first time they went up, and then what was it, another one? Oh no! And then in the second time they went up, he almost
your middle
killed...
finger.
That's his ring finger. I thought that too.
Just for people watching here, he did not flip us off here.
But the second time they went up, and then it almost looked like Kim Allen, almost Quirk.
Kim Allen.
All was almost died, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe not someone dies every time they go up, and then bam, he kills off
Hurl.
Yeah, at that point, and it was like, oh my god, and it was like, no one's safe ever. Like, stop.
I know.
He's like constantly bait and switching us, and like, he did a really good job of building that tension during the battles, and then because of how sudden the battles will start, where it's like, I'm giving you a radio, so any time a battle could happen, and then
the Krell are here right now. You need to get there now, and it's like literally right now.
It happened like 3 times where it was like something else is going on, and we're trying to do something else, and then it's like, no, battle, you need to get in your plane right now, go. And it was like,
that was
play.
That was the thing about the final battle, is that our main group were not in the battle. Well, Jorgen was, but and we're just hearing it through the radio. I'm just like, oh, this is not good. Like, that was so stressful just to have our main characters not be in the main battle. Like, what is happening? Something's bad. And then they have to get there anyway because there's a giant fake out. Like, oh, so good. So good. And Spencer going up was like, oh, one lone Poco against all these Krell. Like, oh,
And then when she was like, she was to Ironsides, and she was like, yeah, I gotta see how I gotta do without my shield. And Ironsides was like, you don't have a shield? Like, what are you doing up there?
What did you guys think of the interludes and Ironsides?
I was surprised to get them.
Yeah.
I could tell, like, the immediate choice that Brandon made to have it in third person as well. That first person is reserved for only Spencer.
That's right.
Oh, that just hit me right away. I was just sort of like, this is third person Ironsides. But it's still very, we still definitely get her thought process and everything, but it's not as immediate, not as personal.
Yeah.
Which I thought was an interesting choice. I feel like it was a good choice because I still don't really like her, but it made it.
Well,
I don't think of her as like a total out and out villain either. So it was a good way to throw some gray into the, so to speak.
Some context.
By the end, I think you definitely understand where Ironsides is coming from, which is good because you're like, okay, it makes sense that she wouldn't want Spencer to go up because
I feel like, like as soon as Spencer sees the actual a replay of the actual battle,
yes,
that's like all of a sudden like Ironsides, it's totally recontextualized.
She goes from being a bit unreasonable to, oh no, I completely understand her point of view at this point.
I don't like you because you're against Spencer, and I like Spencer a lot, and you're making
well, we get the narrative sense that like she is going to turn out to be wrong, so it's sort of like so like we also disagree with her probably at the same time, even though we understand that this is totally reasonable. If we were a character in this world, we would probably be thinking the same thing.
It was also good because then we can cut out of Spencer's brain in the final battle to like see some Ironsides and also see, oh, that's why we had to send all the ships there. It's like if we didn't get the interludes, we wouldn't understand how dire things were for, Alta.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of Chaser and that reveal, which was a great scene of like, this is what Chaser did. This is what her dad did. What did you guys think of that?
I thought the reveal and what the reveal was probably my favorite reveal and plot twist of the book, because I've said in my review I had some issues with some of the answers to the questions posed. I feel like the answer of what happened to Spencer's dad is by far the best answer of the book, and I really enjoyed the scene and like the kind of this whole time you feel like he did something kind of maybe innocent, and the whole coward thing was made him seem worse. But then you realize no, the coward thing is to help his reputation because he murdered like 3 other pilots. Really and I'm like,
because like you're always also wondering like Cobb, really loved Chaser and like loved him so much he's going on a limb for Spencer. Like why would he go along with the lie of like the coward?
Absolutely. But then you realize so it's sort of like what happened, and Cobb's like, I never have forgotten his face in that moment. Yeah. I'm like, oh, what? Holy crap.
Yeah. At that point, I was definitely thinking there's something here that I don't know what's going on, but it's not as simple as it appears.
Right.
Well, and it's a Brandon book. You always know something else is going on.
Well, yeah, in the prologue where it's like, oh, and then my father was branded a coward. I'm like, well, that's going to be central to this book. Like, no crap. Grace, what did you think? Because you've told me that you have some opinions there.
So, I think this is kind of jumping ahead to the end of it.
That's fine.
I think the book would have worked better at the end if instead of being like brainwashed, Spencer's father had seen something that made him switch sides. And then Spencer like saw the same thing while she was in the air and kind of went, no, I'm not my father. What he did doesn't matter. I can choose to sort of make my own destiny and still fight for humanity because I think this is wrong. I liked the reveal that he was actually a traitor, but I think they should have stuck with that a little bit more.
The subsequent reveal after the reveal of the traitor, of why was he a traitor? Yeah, I agree with you. We've spoken about this before the podcast.
Grace messaged me and said, Chaser should have been a traitor. That's what she messaged me. Just like, oh, crap.
I kind of see where you're going because I also thought that was going to be what it was. But I can't see a way to make it actually work. It doesn't track with like the rest of Chaser's character that we see. So like I see what you're saying, that it would have had more impact, like emotionally perhaps, but I personally don't see a way to make that actually work with the rest of our knowledge.
I think the change that would have had to have been made for me that to work for me. So yeah, I agree. Like I wish his reasoning for coming back down and shooting down the other pilots was legitimate, and I feel like the point where I thought that as soon as he started shooting his pilots, I was like, oh man, I can't wait to find out why he's shooting his pilots. But then when on the radio he was like, I'm going to kill you all, I was like, nah, he's just gone crazy, hasn't he? I'm like, because shooting down fellow pilots, I could maybe excuse. But when you says I'm going to kill you all, I was like, he's got like a wife and a child down there. Like he wouldn't say that unless
it's sort of like I can see crazy. Like it is actually kind of what I was expecting, but it's sort of, I can't think of a possible way that would actually make it satisfying. I can't think of a single thing that would actually make the traitor thing believable. You know, if it actually gone that way, like the reveal of what could make Chaser actually turn on the rest of his entire kind would have to be unbelievable. It would.
To me, because you know how much Chaser cares, like I knew there had to be something like that. So I was never disappointed with that reveal at all. And I'm like,
yeah,
what is happening with the Krell? Because like it's not the Chaser part. It's more like what is actually going on? That's what gets, you know, me thinking there from that context.
And I think that if he had turned out to be a traitor, it would have legitimized Ironsides' entire thing, where it's like, no, like she had to be taken down a peg. Things aren't as simple as she thought.
But
or it's sort of like that's what Ironsides thought, that there was something out there that could make pilots legitimately turn sides.
Which is completely reasonable, and why when Spencer went up, you're like,
what is she about to learn?
The thing is, for me, I think the reveal at the end legitimizes Ironsides more than her father actually being a traitor does.
I don't think so.
Why is that?
Because the point is, it's uncontrollable, and the only reason Spencer did not have that happen to her is because she was an M-bot, and M-bot shielded her.
Right.
Yeah. I think if it had been a choice, that would have been what
I think part of it was also because why I don't think that's really an issue is because of the entire history of like human space travel. Either that this is a new thing that the aliens have learned to do to human cytonics, because that didn't seem to be a big problem until they got to this point. So it's sort of like,
that's true.
I feel like there's the reason I'm not really bothered by that at all is because I feel like the next 3 books are going to delve in. I feel like this is something that Spencer is probably, and maybe future defects are probably going to be able to learn to do. But we can talk about more about that later. But that's kind of like why I wasn't. It's sort of like there's obviously going to be so much more going into the cytonics bit that it's sort of like. I just think that it's going to be something that's going to be handled in the next.
Yeah, it's like her like Spencer's important choice is going to come later in the series, I think.
Yeah, like this felt like this is the first introduction. Of course, she's going to be overwhelmed by something that she's never actually done before. Like this was her first time.
Surely there will be a point where she is not an M-bot and need to deal with this.
That's
right?
what
like
I think.
In the next few books.
I think also for me is that by the end of the book, I just didn't care. I cared way more about Spencer than I did about Chaser. I was like, he can be a traitor or not. I don't care about that. I just wanted something that was impactful in that moment for Spencer.
Yeah.
I think it was impactful. It was just positively impactful.
Yeah.
That's all.
I feel like a book where Chaser had a legitimate reason to turn on his flightmates would have just been a very different book. And it's hard to think of what it could have been, but I mean that's why I pay Brandon to write these books and not
right, exactly.
And he's there to think about these things, not me.
Well, we're on the subject of Chaser.
Okay.
I just want to rant for a minute.
Okay, great.
Zine Nightshade. I hate the name Zine Nightshade.
Yeah,
it's so dumb. It's like as a 13-year-old playing a video game and giving your character like dark magic and being like, I need to give this character a dark, edgy name to match their dark, edgy powers.
Maybe Brandon's just really bad with names with Z's. Did you think about that? Zane, Zine, like these names are not not good.
Well, it's just the combination of Zine and Nightshade. I hate it so much. It's so dumb.
Nightshade is cool as
I'm like I'm fine. I don't care. I'm like
Zine is just like really?
Yeah.
Zine?
Like we're so used to calling him Chaser that like you don't think about it nearly as much as maybe you should, but it's like Zine,
I don't think of him as Zine. I'm just like
no.
Hey, listen, like I'm used to like Star Wars expanded universe. This name is nothing. Like
okay, that is true. That is certainly
I'm like,
true.
I've seen so much worse. Like this is fine. That
is very, very true.
It's just every time they said the name Nightshade, I was like, oh yeah, forget this is a YA book. Yeah.
Well, I mean, who knows why Brandon chose that name, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's YA because you can relate to Spensa, and the struggle Spensa goes through and growing up is very relatable to a lot of people, I think. Right.
Yeah.
And also it's shorter and it wouldn't be a 200,000 word Brandon book. That's another good reason for it to be YA.
I have a couple things I'd like to talk about before we get too deep into other problems with the book.
Okay.
One small thing, this is just a mention, is like the doctor on that everyone talks about, but we never actually see her on screen.
Yeah.
Cobb and Ironsides seem to be very familiar with her, and she's the one who actually makes sure that Spensa finally gets living quarters and the rest of the stuff on campus.
Mm-hmm. Right.
On their campus there. So she seems to like have really a lot of influence, that she seems to be very politically important, and it seems like she can like actually force Ironsides to do stuff. So it seems very interesting to me that she's not on screen ever.
I feel like she's gonna be on screen like in book 2.
That's what I think. It's sort of like she's introduced so like in such an interesting way that you do wonder.
When we hear about her, it's like already part 4, and like I just don't think the book had space to introduce another character.
Exactly.
Really.
Oh, for sure.
Like, she's gonna be relevant in something.
There's like a spotlight. It's sort of like, this character is about to, maybe be important later.
I think it was Brandon didn't want another May Aladar situation where a character just comes out of nowhere.
I don't know how much Brandon knows about the May Aladar meme, but
this could just be like, hey, Brandon has worked on the pacing really hard for this book, and he knows, and it was just a good choice.
Yeah.
That you can do it
Especially
without
since-
introducing the character on screen. Yeah.
I think
Especially
the
like
doctor...
starting in book 2, Spence's as the only trained Cytonic is going to be
trained.
She's teleported, so she's more trained than anyone else.
Yeah.
Self-taught.
She is going to be part of those important this political discussions about what is going to happen.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like Gran might be too.
I hope so.
I hope so.
Gran.
I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
Yeah.
You're a fan.
And also, I don't know how close this is going to get into talking about Starsight. I'll try to keep it more into
we're
just
gonna
this book.
We're gonna do a Starsight's prediction episode, but we're gonna go real deep in that. So don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay, and then one thing I thought was really interesting is FM. I think the fact that she is kind of the one who made it to the end is significant, especially for the reason that her entire thing she has about the culture of detritus and Alta sort of comes into really interesting focus when we get to the very end, and when the aliens are talking about how warlike and terrible humans are. Basically the aliens' whole thing is actually totally accurate when you get to see the culture of Alta and like how warlike the entire culture is like so like that. Like it's sort of like they have a military leadership. It's kind of what they have to do. And it was sort of like the aliens have kind of forced them into this situation. But FM is totally right in that they're becoming the direction that their people are headed is very, very, very bad. Like it's really violent and warlike. And it's sort of like I feel like her getting there is actually, I think it might become more significant, but I also think like she was definitely, she wasn't just like another teammate. The fact that she made it to the end and like her voice is part of this next conversation. I feel like really important to like how Spensa thinks about herself and her culture and how she was raised and the way she was taught to think, and how that might be changing soon.
Well, who knows what the status of the Krell is going to be like post.
Yeah.
FM really stuck up on me when Cobb at the beginning said that like on average only like 1 or 2 people make it through. I was like, all right, it's gonna be Spensa and Jorgen. And Hurl and Bim, they're both way too trigger happy. They're gonna get killed by the Krell. But like, I actually had that thought. I was like, Bim, he seems, and Hurl both just seem way too eager to jump into combat without proper training. They're both dead.
Well,
and then,
yeah.
But I did not expect her to make it to the end. She really snuck up on me.
Yeah, it's important that she made it to the end.
It is.
Yeah. Because as you're saying, it kind of hints us towards what could possibly be the future of, Spencer's character arc. She builds her identity over what the current culture is now in exemplifying, warrior prowess and fighting
I mean,
good.
It makes sense that the culture of, the humans is like this, considering what the Krell are doing.
Yeah.
But
the fact that they killed everyone that actually knew what was going on.
Right. Can one of us talk about kind of the short version of defending Elysium and kind of the lore of the world real quick?
Okay, so in defending Elysium, about 140 years before the events of the novella, this phone company discovered psionic abilities. And at first it was super sketchy and they weren't very good at it, but it attracted these aliens to Earth. And the humans, being humans, shot down the alien ship. And the phone company basically negotiated with the aliens and were like, all right, we're not going to have a war. Not that the aliens would have fought the humans anyways, because they just don't believe in that. And the phone company got the sole rights to all the psionic abilities and basically became this super powerful organization that was above the law and were the sole controllers of all the useful technology that the humans had.
Yeah. But it's important that normal people did not know that these were abilities. They just thought it was
technology.
Tech.
Yeah, and so the phone company kept it really close to the chest, and that's why lots of humanity at the time was very very suspicious and even resentful of the phone company. Was that the phone company was the sole contact. They were the ones who were only allowed to talk to the aliens. No one else was.
And so the leader of the phone company, Jason Wright, basically decided, I'm going to keep the truth about these powers secret so humanity won't go out into space and kill and cheat all the aliens because humans are awful.
And the aliens are great.
Yes. And then he finds out, aliens aren't that great because they take all of the people who disagree with them and suppress their abilities and lock them away so that they have a peaceful society. And he's like, that's not very good. I'm just going to give humans the power to go out into space now.
It's like, we're all awful.
And that's why the story is called Defending Elysium. Elysium being paradise. He thought, space is a paradise. Nope, it is not.
And the point with the aliens is that their tech is kind of bad, and the humans' tech is way better for fighting.
Yeah, it's most aliens develop psionic abilities way earlier in their technological progression. So
we're talking steam power. We're talking before aliens even got into space themselves. Yeah. They were already on other planets because they could teleport. They found this ability before they even got to electricity, if they ever got to electricity.
Yeah. It's like the ship that the humans shot down, and it was kind of like modern day Earth, wasn't it? The ship that shot down was. It was
probably a little 20 minutes in the future kind of thing.
Yeah. 2071.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. And that was the most advanced ship that the galaxy had at the moment. Was shot down by humans before they'd even have
a single missile. A single missile.
Single missile. Yeah.
It was bad. The humans didn't mean to do it. But still, it was sort of oops. One missile.
And so, just as a lore of the world. Yeah, that's why the humans were real powerful for a while in the lore, and apparently had an entire empire.
And yet they lost the war.
And then also, talking about that human empire, detritus had a Dyson sphere around it. It was entirely surrounded by Yeah, what's up?
For the not STEM people out there, can you explain to the audience what a Dyson sphere is?
Yes,
Okay,
and people who don't watch Star Trek all the time.
Yeah.
The original idea behind a Dyson sphere made by a guy called something Dyson, not the guy who made the vacuum company, but actually might have been the guy who made the vacuum company.
I don't think it was the guy who made the.
It might actually be. I'm not going to lie. Okay,
I think that's the case.
Not entirely sure.
Please comment below.
So he came up with this idea that in order to, if you wanted to get like a star and you want to get all the energy from a star, you're going to need to completely encapsulate that star in a shell of basically just solar panels. He then applied this to different ideas, and one of those was a Dyson sphere around a planet. So you can kind of, because planets are hot things that give off a lot of heat, even not as big as a star, because stars are way bigger than planets, and a civilization that can create Dyson spheres around stars is like orders of magnitude above a planet, the civilization that can create a Dyson sphere around a planet. Right. But creating a Dyson sphere around a planet is still a really big deal, and is something that requires a hell of a lot of technology in terms of like materials. Like the amount of mass you need to coat a planet in terms of like metal ore is like several planets worth. So
planets are big. Who knew?
Like, yeah, planets are really big. So a human empire having a Dyson sphere around a planet, and it seems like this was a type of fortress world. Like this is not a human species, like from Star Trek or from Halo or Mass Effect. This is something like way beyond that. This is a really big deal. This human empire was like,
Yeah, it really
you get
was.
the idea that like once they found the Cytonics, they didn't leave their technological advancement behind. They still worked on it a lot, maybe even combine them in crazy ways, like we see in a nice, advanced spaceship that talks. So
yeah, seriously.
So yeah, the planet of detritus, which I kind of wish we found out more about in this book. I didn't like the explanation of
me
the Defiant.
Too.
Just kind of knew about it, and I'm
we'll talk. Let's talk more about that in the well, it wouldn't be the next episode, but
in a few minutes.
Yeah. But yeah, I definitely wanted to see more about detritus for sure. But that's the lore of the world. If you did not read Defending Elysium.
People wondering why did the humans lose? Well, when it's the entire galaxy against you
and really hate you.
Yeah. It's at that point it's just a numbers game.
We don't know, we don't even know how long that war went on. We don't know how long they were fighting. Lots of things could have changed. I feel like we got exactly enough of the background that we needed for this book. I feel like it could have been too much if he went even further into what detritus was, or the Defiant. I feel like it would have kind of undercut like the final reveal that they were aliens. Like, I'm glad Gran didn't go too far into the the context of like what was happening when the Defiant went down.
Well, at that point, the Defiant wasn't part of the war, so how much they knew about what was going on?
That's totally true.
It was so cool to get the reveal that the Krell don't want to kill the human, right?
Yeah, they just want to stop us
until they did.
Yeah.
Well,
until they did.
But they were
until they do.
Trying to. The humans are like, the aliens think that humans are very aggressive and are going to murder things, and so if the humans get too powerful, then the Krell are like, we can't kill them all, or we have to kill their civilization, so we can have some of them still be alive, basically. Yeah.
That was
supposed
to me. That was
not.
To me, that was good. I like seeing the flip of like their expectations of what the enemy's mindset is versus what it actually is. Oh, yeah. I actually really like that. Like, I love twists like that. It's sort of like, no, they actually don't like this. They kind of fear humans more than the other way around.
Yeah, like there's the one that freaks out when it thinks Spencer's looking at it.
Right. Yeah.
We're not warriors. Why do we have to be here?
And Spencer just comes in, like, I'm a warrior. What's up? Like,
Yeah.
That's not an accurate representation of what happened in that ending, but
So I just want to say that we have not discussed the most important character in the novel.
We really haven't.
Oh!
Doomslug.
Oh, that's not where I thought you were
Destroyer.
going with this. Yeah, let's talk about Doomslug.
And then we can get to Mbot.
Yeah, right.
Second most important character.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here like, wait, our Jorgen discussion was over?
Yeah, we haven't actually got onto like the other flight mates and like talking about them. Yeah, we'll get to
Oh my gosh.
I don't really care about Doomslug. Gonna be real. A lot of people are like, oh, Doomslug's so cute. I don't care, actually.
I'm 100% with you.
I could take him or leave him. Or take her or
I
leave him.
like the idea that Doomslug has cytonics.
Yeah.
I don't know how likely that actually is. But
Listen, if
Yeah.
it turns out that Doomslug has cytonics, I'll be down with it. If not, then I'll be down with it.
That would give reason for Doomslug to exist, because in this book it's just like, Doomslug, whatever. You know?
I think
Well, the thing is that like Spencer doesn't like these abilities don't seem super common to slugs. So I mean,
I hope Doomslug is of like one of the sentient alien races. That
I don't know about
Just living
maybe,
on
maybe
deck.
sentient, maybe not sapient, but
Well.
maybe I'm not
Welcome
sure
to
about
Planeticast. We're talking about the difference between sentience and sapience. All right, great.
we've done this before.
We have done this before. Yes.
Doomslug is actually just a discontent from an alien species that's like, I'm gonna come to Detritus and befriend the humans there so we can like take the war back to the aliens. Master
Okay.
prediction, Starsight prediction. Doomslug
Yeah.
is going to be.
Doomslug, alien warrior. I can't wait for Doomslug to grow up and fly a Poco and then fight the other aliens. Easy.
Yeah.
What are Ben? You said
Hello.
you had problems with some reveals, and in the review.
Yes.
By the way, we didn't really talk about the review in depth because Ben's like, I'm saving it for the podcast when we record it. So now we're doing that.
Yeah. cool.
What? Explain what you mean. Explain yourself.
Okay, so my issues were that I felt like I had a lot of expectations for the questions that were set up, and I felt like the four main questions set up by Brandon at the
Okay.
beginning were: what happened with Spencer's dad?
Okay.
Who are the Krell?
Okay.
Why do they act so weird? You know, the whole waves, only 100 at a time, and what's going on with detritus? As I said before, I felt like detritus we didn't get really much information on.
That's true.
I
totally agree.
At the time of the review, I misread the bit where they talked about how they found detritus, and I thought when Cobb was saying about, we knew of detritus, but we kind of found it that way, I thought he meant like all of humanity, and I thought, so you're saying detritus was just that you just kind of found it this way, and I thought that was a really bad reveal. But then I reread it and I was like, no, the Defiant crew just knew of it and knew it that way, but it was previously a human fortress world. And I was like, okay, that kind of solves my main issue, but I still felt like it could have been better, better revealed, better explained, and I wish we knew more about it. The Krell thing, I've probably read too many sci-fis that the whole prison planet kind of, they have like government politics, says how you can send me, I've just read that too many times, but I felt like it was just like, okay, we're just doing a prison planet story. Okay, fair enough. And I didn't like it. I was kind of hoping for something a bit more, but I don't know. I think that's just a me thing.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah, because I didn't mind that. I thought the Krell reveal was pretty good, and also there was the thing that clearly the shielding on detritus is interfering with the Krell.
Well, like obviously that wasn't from them.
Yeah, like they could only send so many ships because like they're using cytonic communication, right?
Yeah.
And so like that seemed reasonable, but I can understand the prison plan is like, okay, it's a prison plan.
Yeah,
but
it was quite funny. Someone before the book came out during one of the AMAs, someone on Reddit was like, "Hey Brandon, have you watched Tengen Toppo Gurren Lagann? Because this storyline kind of seems similar to that." And like as the book went on, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is just Tengen Toppo Gurren Lagann, but with spaceships instead of giant
You
robots."
didn't make that connection. Oh, that's really good. That's really good though.
It's an anime about giant robots, and it really is a very, very similar thing, even down to the amount of humans living on the surface of the planet and having waves of enemies coming to try and keep that down without actually wiping them out.
I feel like it was less about population and more about
the
letting humans actually be peaceful enough to progress.
Yeah. Because they progress, then it's like, oh, this is going to cause problems.
Yeah. And then a minor one is I found the Lifebuster bombs needlessly complicated. And I was like, I was just kind of like, all right, Brandon, I see you just kind of wanted to make a cool sci-fi bomb that seemed really threatening. But I was like, if they've got a bomb which can already get down to the city of, what's the city beneath Alta?
Igneous.
Igneous.
Igneous. Thank you. I forgot that.
Yeah, so the first stage of the bomb is a big enough explosion to break through to igneous. Then you have like the weird acid thing, and then a third bomb, which then makes the acid thing spread. I'm like, well, if you've already got a bomb big enough to get to igneous, just make a slightly bigger bomb. And
Look,
then
the alien technology is bad, Ben. Okay, they got to make it complicated. It's like I don't know how to make a bigger bomb, so we'll just do 3 waves of bombs. Okay,
we'll just put acid in the middle of the bombs. And I'm like, okay, I guess.
did not design this bomb.
Yeah,
so of course it makes no sense.
You're not wrong. Yeah,
you get the sense that like the people on the other side of the bomb are also like not super good at this kind of thing. Since they're driving these ships like drones, it's like distant.
They're obeying rule of cool. They're like, guys, what if we had a bomb? Then we had acid in the bomb as well. And everyone's like, that's a great idea. Let's do that.
It's just like chemical warfare. It's just like, hey, come on. It's like,
you want to be really sure that you kill them and that you destroy that society. I don't know.
It's sort of like it's more than just like killing the people, but it's also like making sure that their living structures are also destroyed.
Right.
Yeah.
And like their food production.
Their food production.
It's basically
technology.
the same as like salting the earth. You know, like it's sort of like not just killing the people, but also just salting and raising and et cetera.
Making sure no one could live there again.
Yeah.
But then like nuclear bombs do that anyway. Like, I don't know. I thought it was
maybe the aliens.
Maybe they don't have nuclear. Maybe they don't even have.
Maybe they don't have nuclear bombs.
Maybe the alien. Yeah. As we know, nuclear technology has some issues, and so maybe the aliens are like, we're not going to do that.
Decided not to do that, but it could just be a thing that just goes unanswered, or maybe it's a thing that like maybe we'll find out more about like their technological.
I mean, obviously,
sensibilities.
I mean, don't you guys want to know how alien society works? Because I definitely do. I want, Ben, I totally want to know more about Detritus. I'm with you. We have to, for sure, in the next book, see more about Detritus, or I'm going to be upset. Straight up.
Yeah. I want to, like, just like, I feel like that goes hand in hand with, like, more about, like, information on the war. And, I feel like we have to have more reveals on, like, how we even got to this point. Because we have a very limited view from Gran.
Very limited.
It was more than we ever had before.
Well, right.
But it was sort of like, I feel like even Gran, we need more than like even like what the humans on Detritus have access to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the book was called Skyward. Made it to the end. And so clearly we're going to expand to the greater galaxy, right? Like,
that's what I think.
We did that. The next book has star in the name, so I mean, like.
Ooh, speaking of that, sorry, I have one last thing that I took an issue with was the Brandon avalanche. I felt basically didn't exist in this book.
What?
I didn't feel an escalating.
Really?
Yeah, I.
You know what? I have a comment about that. I feel like I can't remember if this was something that Brandon has said or if it was just a conversation that came up on 17 Shard a couple times, was that Brandon is trying to not do huge avalanches so much. Is that like, you know, like personally I don't mind the lack of like a huge, all of a sudden the last third is sort of like all like high octane. In terms of like what we talked about the pacing, I thought that this was actually a good thing, was that like I felt like the momentum just keep me going. But it was never like all of a sudden, we're jumping up to the climax now. And now it's, you know, like, you know, so like I see your point. Like we never felt like the sudden jump of like the high octane, but I also felt like the momentum was really well. All of a sudden we were at the point where like the life bomb and she has M-bot and all of a sudden like everything starts to come together one at a time, but it didn't feel like a huge rush. It felt like the momentum was growing and then we were there.
Yeah. Ben, I think you're full of crap. All right, go ahead.
I felt like the last battle was just, it felt like it was just a bigger battle. It didn't feel like, it wasn't like, I know it's kind of hard, it's a kind of a pointless to make this comparison, but like it wasn't like the Tower from Way of Kings size battle. Like it didn't feel that momentous. It was like, it just felt like it was like, oh, we're sending up every flight, which was like, oh wow, but like to just go get another shipyard that's coming down, and I'm like, and then when the Lifebuster then heads straight for Alta, I was like, okay, now things are kind of hyping up a little bit, but then that's like 2 chapters from the end. It wasn't like other Brandon books where it's almost like the last quarter to a fifth is like this constant escalation. It felt like this is just kind of another battle, and then a spike right at the end, and then the resolution, like the whole
Ian has
Spencer
his
going,
hand up.
yeah, I'll get that. You'll talk eventually. And then the whole her going above the debris field and finding out about how the Krell work and all that kind of thing. That was one chapter. That was the last chapter, and it was like, here's a bunch of reveals in the very last chapter, and then you get the epilogue, which is, you know, just her explaining those reveals a bit more. And I'm like, is that it? I was like, that just kind of ended really suddenly for me, and like that escalation just happened very quickly at the end.
Okay.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with anything you just said.
No, definitely
However,
not.
I don't think I agree either.
Yeah,
but I mean, I can see why Ben is saying that.
Yeah, I'm more with Ray that a much more gradual slope, which, as has been discussed, Brandon is trying to get away from the Brandon avalanche.
Yeah, like,
not every book, but
Okay, all right.
I have one more thing.
Okay.
Because I actually noticed this with Bands of Mourning, where by the time I realized from my perspective, the avalanche starts halfway through the book.
I mean, it really does. Yeah, it advances. Yeah,
and
it
by
totally
the time
does.
you realize that, you're pretty, but you don't really realize that until
you're
on
in it.
Book. Like,
yeah, that's what I felt was going on here. It was sort of like all of a sudden, like things are building up one at a time, and all of a sudden you realize what the stakes actually are, and then that's when you realize is the moment of the avalanche.
All right. You guys are Ben. You're full of crap because let me just say,
Eric.
No, I'm sorry. I don't understand how you cannot think that this part 5 was not a Brandon avalanche. And maybe it's just because I'm exactly attuned with Brandon endings, and I just really like it all the time. Well, except 6 of the Dust, which sucked.
I have the special knowledge. I understand Brandon's.
No, I just I'm just he's my favorite author. I really like that ending, right? You know, but I'm used to part 5s of Brandon's endings to be a big battle with some reveals, and we got that. And it was really intense the entire way. You feel the tension. As soon as you get to the interlude where, like, we're sending all the ships. Like, they have the graduation ceremony and the ships are flying off. I'm like, oh, it's final battle time, baby. And they go down in there and you're just stressed out about things like, we're not in the battle. Like, this is not good. And then they fly up, and it's so hype with Spencer fighting all the Krell, and we get the classic Brandon. I can't stay in one person's head too much because I want to be cinematic, and so I'm jumping viewpoints, which always happens.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm in. I'm so in. And then Spencer crashes, and you're like, oh, crap. And Cobb and Mbot come in, and then we get the big battle. Like, this is all how this is happening. And then, after all that, we get the Cytonic reveal. We get the Cytonic jump, and we win.
Which was really good.
And then, after all of that, the book could have ended, but then Spencer goes up to the stars, and we get some answers, and then the book ends, and you're like, I want the next book, which I agree with that part. But
that's one of... Oh, okay.
Yeah. See, I don't think anything you just said invalidates what Gray and I said. Yes, like, it does get up to the same height that all Brandon's other books get. It's just like the ramp up is much smoother. It's not as like
I feel like it's sort of like
up here.
I feel like it's a sign of really good pacing that it happens instead of like just like all of a sudden everything goes wrong at once. It's all things start building up. Like the battle starts happening, but Spence is still on the ground. You have a lot of anxiety that she's not even there. Holy crap! Like what's gonna happen? So like I had like such anxiety about like that going on, and then all of a sudden she finds a way to get up into the air without shields. Like things, it was just like a bunch of things, one on top of the other, and all of a sudden you realize that the stakes are huge. Oh my god!
I just don't. I don't see the difference.
I think I found the difference in the way that we view things.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, the sending all the ships to go recover the shipyard, and Spencer's on the ground hanging out with her friends. I did not feel much tension about that battle because it was so like, oh, we're just going to go get another shipyard. I was like, oh, really good luck to you guys.
No, because we know that the
interludes.
Krell are so serious about preventing that like happening. You know that the Krell are going to answer that like 100%. So I was like, oh my god, how many people are going to die? Like Ironsides. This was a character moment for Ironsides because her entire thing was that she was so afraid to commit. She was like her internal dialogue was that like she was not this great general that she doesn't think she's really good at making decisions. She was too afraid to commit. Like she would send out too few and to try and save people, but it would end up being the wrong decision because they would just lose the battle and then like be short on people. Anyway, like this was a huge risk for Ironsides and a huge character moment where she decided to send out everyone. That was huge for her. So I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen now that she decided to do this? Is this where she does it and then she fails anyway? Or does this turn out to be the good thing? I was so like, I knew this was big.
Yeah. That's why you have the interludes, to know that it's so big, that it was a big moment for Ironsides and the history of all of human society to do this.
Yeah, and Ben, Jorgen was in that battle and he was in serious danger. I don't know how you could not feel anxiety about that.
My emotional connection was with Spencer and Kimmallen. I can't remember her name.
Kimmallen.
Because Kim Allen is a name. It's just like
How is this so hard for you to pronounce things in the order that they appear?
There's two M's and a Y in there. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Like
emphasis on the first syllable.
Okay. So Kimmallen and Spencer were on the ground, not in the battle. I was like, I'm not really worried. I just want to see them hang out. You guys have some fun. I don't know. Go
How were you not worried when they got onto the radio?
All of a sudden, like all of the survivors get to go up. Like that was like, oh my gosh, has this never happened before? Like I'm sure, like yeah.
When all of the Skyward flight, the people who were grounded, when they went up, that's when I considered. That's when I got like tense. Okay. That's when I got anxious. That's when I was like, okay, but that, like I said, that's like the third last chapter.
I feel like your like momentum sense is a little late.
I feel like maybe you should read that again. Just maybe you should read part 5 again, because again.
No, it's okay. Like if it didn't work for you, then it didn't work for you. Like that's fine.
Yeah, I know.
It is subjective.
It is subjective, but I
was also constantly surprised every time someone died. Every time someone died, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe someone just died.
Well, I totally agree with that. Like, oh, people just died and that was sudden. Like, oh crap. Like, I agree with that. But I'm just primed in my brain. Part 5s and Brandon are the ending, and so as soon as we got to part 5, I'm like, oh crap, things are gonna get down. The interludes, oh, we're gonna commit. Oh, we committed. And the book goes further than I thought it would. I mean, yes, it's titled Skyward, so yes, we go into the sky. Yeah, but like I didn't expect to get so much about the Krell at the end, even though I knew we needed to. I would be upset if we didn't, but the book could have ended after that battle. But Sansa's like, no.
Yeah. No, I feel like this is what I love about Brandon, is that like I'm sure this has come up so many times before, that other authors string out mysteries until the end, and then they don't even answer it at the end. They just keep stringing it out. Brandon brings up a mystery, answers it, which is another mystery again, and he answers it, and he brings up like the answers provoke more mysteries, which I love. It's sort of like, so I ended this so satisfied, and also so like I need the next one so badly.
I think all of you were like, I need the next book right now.
Like, he answered questions. He did, which was great. I felt like so good. But then the answers to those questions are just like, oh, I need more. I need this to be expanded. I need the next step. I need the next answer.
Like the Chaser reveal, like we got tidbits of it so reasonably, and then when Cobb's like, yeah, just go into the data archive, I know what you're doing. It's
that whole sequence was great.
That was great.
Oh, I was like, I had like so much adrenaline. I'm just like, wait, this is just happening. She's just finding out.
We don't need to wait till part 5 for that part, which was great.
Yeah,
it was
so good.
Like even her just walking into a library where she's not supposed to be. Have you ever like had to sneak in somewhere where you're not supposed to be? Even if like if you get caught, probably someone's just going to ask you to leave. There's still like that anxiety. You're like hyped up. Like, I'm like a spy right now.
Everyone relates to that. Of like, I'm sneaking around and I should not have been sneaking around there, or I was sneaking away. So my parents don't know, or something like that. And like, oh man, what's gonna happen? But I don't know. I think your Brandon Avalanche senses are wrong. The only Brandon books that I didn't like was when endings don't have an avalanche. Six of dust. Or Way of Kings, where part 5 is not the end. It's in part 4, and I was mentally not prepared for that. Okay, part 5 is an extended epilogue in Way of Kings, and I thought we were going to get more than we did, right? Because I'm so primed for part 5 being endings.
You know what the secret to that is to not have expectations.
Yeah.
Well,
I have to admit, I think a lot of my issues with the book was too high expectations. I think that's what it was.
But the thing is that
go into books with no expectations. It makes it so much better.
But that's the nice thing, that we know we're getting a sequel next year. Starsight's written and
completed.
Obviously, my definition of completed is it is actually, there's not further drafts that are going to occur, and that's not true.
Oh, my version of completed is he has like at least one draft, maybe two done, and then so like it's already there. You know, it fixes, but it's done.
I suppose my perspective is a little different, you know, because we're not even at beta stage yet, and so there's like, I know that there's more stages here. Like we don't.
Oh,
have
sure,
art
but I mean,
stuff.
like, but it's not like he was like having a hard time with writing it. He just it's done. He knows what the story is.
Right,
yeah. Drafting is complete.
Drafting, yeah. Well. Anyway, pedantic cast on what that means, but it's written, right? And we're gonna get answers to a lot of these things, and obviously, I know Brandon is going to answer world-building mysteries that he didn't answer, because the thing we like about Skyward is its tight pace, and I feel like if we got more reveals, like that would almost weaken it. And so we'll put it in another book that's also more tightly paced. And also, if you guys didn't know, Skyward originally was planned as a trilogy, but on AMAs, Brandon said, so it's going to be probably 4 books. so Brandon, my books become more books, Sanderson.
Should we do now favorite characters? Because I feel like Grace has been dying to talk about her favorite character this entire book.
Yes, tell us all. Tell us all the things.
I love Jorgen.
It's why she's been so quiet. She's just thinking about Jorgen.
I mean, you're not entirely wrong.
Take me up in your cockpit. What? What?
So when he first walked in and was all like confident about like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be flight leader, I was like, great, it's gonna be another like jerk who got there without like earning his place, and he's gonna be mean to Spencer for no reason. And then he just immediately proved how great he was at flying in the simulator, and I was like, great. Yes, I love this guy. He's so good at flying, but he's not like cocky or mean about it. He's just confident, but his confidence is earned, and it's great. And he cares so much about the people, and they're so mean to him, and he doesn't deserve it.
Seriously. I liked when Spencer stole that part off his car.
Yeah.
Well, it was like the power matrix. It wasn't an engine. Yeah. But
well, the equivalent of the engine, whatever.
The power
and he was
matrix.
just like, it was you. I thought it was the mechanic.
But I liked that, because then we get the ship to turn on, so I'm like, yeah, give me more about the ship. But also, like, as you get on, I just continually was like, hey, you know, he's doing his best, okay? He's trying to be a leader. He's working so hard.
Yeah,
I'm with
like,
you, Grace.
To me, like, I wasn't won over by the fact that he was good at flying. Like, of course he was good at flying. I was more impressed by the reveals of his character as we saw him not react to Spencer. Or react to Spencer in the correct way.
I just didn't want Spencer to be flight leader in that first moment. So that's why I liked Jorgen prove himself, you know?
Well, yeah, like, to me, it was sort of like Cobb's talk to Spencer. Like, to me, I cared more about Spencer's character and, like, the fact that, you know, like, Cobb told her what the stakes were. And, like, it was less about actually Jorgen for me in that moment. I was still on Spencer's side. I was like, yeah, whatever. Of course he has the flight experience, whatever.
So
rich people. But then it was like, as we went on, and I had the sense kind of before Ironsides was sort of like, oh, you know what? She's thinking that Jorgen knows that it was her who took the engine. And then she was like that moment of like when we see them in Ironside's office and Jorgen's like, what are you doing? No. Don't turn yourself in. What are you doing? And he takes her out, and then it was sort of like that moment. I was just sort of like, yes, his character actually turns out to be so good. Like he really, that was the moment I really like, it cinched for me. Was like Jorgen has a great, he actually does have the makings of a really great leader. It was like he's doing what he needs to do, and he eventually does roll with jerk face, and it was it was sort of like the reason that they called him Jerkface, it was like, hey, listen, that wasn't exactly for no reason. Like, they can tell a rich boy when they see one, and it was sort of like the fact that he rolled with it, I thought was really indicative of a great character.
As soon as Jorgen walked in, my shipping alarms went off.
Really?
Okay, this is going to be the person Spencer ends up with, so he can't be totally bad. And then just over time, it's like, okay, yep, he's cool. I could see them working well together. But I'm glad it didn't actually get to the point of romance in this book. I feel like that would have been too much.
Yeah.
But there's a nice baseline for that to come in later books.
Brandon has said publicly that there was a romance in an earlier draft, and I like this version a lot better. Just
I liked Jorgen. I think I don't know how much it says about me, but I kind of saw a bit of myself in him as like a cocky teenager, and I was like, I'm like, I feel like I've been there, and like I kind of got it, and then the bit when he didn't realize that it was Spencer who took his car engine, and I was like, yeah, I've had like people try and do things to get back at me, and it's just straight over my head. I'm like, yeah, I get this completely. I'm like, I liked Jorgen very early on. And so yeah, I was a fan.
Grace, when did like turn to love?
Scene 1.
Immediate.
Immediate emotional connection.
I had a bit of a crush on him from the beginning, from right when he got into the cockpit and started flying in the simulation.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Other favorite characters. So that's Jorgen. Great.
Wait, I want to do a least favorite quickly.
Okay. All right. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Ned is a terrible friend, and he owes Spencer an apology.
Explain.
Literally the last thing he said to her after she saved his life was that she was a coward. Never apologized for that. And also when he and Arturo were talking about Jorgen, and they were just like, oh yeah, he doesn't want to hang out with us. We know him. We wouldn't invite him because we know he'd just say no. I was like, he wants to be there. It's just his parents. Like, you guys are bad friends.
Okay, so parsing that out, Ned was mean to Spencer and mean to Jorgen. Ned is dead to grave. Just unpacking that for the...
It felt like a little bit of a betrayal because I was really starting to like him. And then...
And another point against him, he likes FM and Rig likes FM, and I like Rig more, so...
Well, okay, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Ian, favorite character?
Kimmelin, actually.
She's great. She's really great.
I just love her. Bless your stars. Like, super southern accent in my mind.
Yeah, that's... You're right. I just don't like southern accents. Sorry, southerners. But
her whole, like, she'll insult people in a really cheerful way, and they will just completely miss it.
She's really great. She was awesome. Shannon, favorite.
Oh my god, don't do this to me. It obviously has to be Spencer.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, should I even bother? I'm just
What about other than Spencer? Because we've talked about Spencer.
I mean, like, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh my god, guys, this is unfair. Mbot was really funny, but I think I was like really emotionally taken with Cobb.
For me, it's either Cobb or Mbot, and I don't know which to pick.
Yeah,
so
it's really tough. Mbot is so funny, but like Cobb is sort of like, it's sort of like I love the grumpy persona, and I love like the evidence of like how much he loves these kids. Like, he created a totally different culture in this classroom than like exists in the rest of their entire city or base.
Yeah.
And he did it because he actually wanted them to live. And it's sort of like he has advantages as a first citizen that he could do that in a way like he couldn't be told what to do, but like he went 100%. He was fully on board for these kids, and I don't know. I was just like I was really taken by him, and I really hope he plays a good role in the next ones because he's great.
He is great.
Yeah.
My favorite cover after Spencer, because Spencer's definitely is also Kimmelin.
Right.
Even though you can't say her name.
Even though I can't say her name.
No.
Hey, I've
Well,
learned
I mean,
this
Shardcast
podcast,
listeners are
haven't
used to that.
I think one of my favorite bits. I think when I went from really liking her to like her being one of my favorite characters, when it find out that the things that she says the Saint said, Saint didn't actually say those things.
No.
She's just saying stuff.
That
I mean,
was
like,
really
the
great.
Saint once said, and I'm like, oh, you, Kimberlin. I'm like,
That was really
Yeah.
good.
I really liked that moment, and yeah, just the fact that she's like a really good shot, and like that whole storyline thing, that plot point of her character, and I was like, and then she misses just before when she was trying to save her, I believe, and so she just shatters her confidence in that so much, and I'm just like, I really really liked Kimberly.
We got a good arc for her, really.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
All the side characters you really feel like characters, and I see your point about Ned, Grace, but for the most part, all the characters were very well rounded, and I mean, granted, you get Morningtide development right before she dies. I'm like, oh, well, rip. Great, and I have to remember them less now because now I can focus on the characters who are still alive. But they aren't like just caricatures.
Yeah.
Ned has a reason for the things he says to Spencer.
Hmm.
Whether they're good reasons or not.
We said earlier we were going to talk about Mbot, and we have not. We like literally not dug into Mbot at all in this. We've mentioned Mbot existing. Great. Let's talk about Mbot, because holy crap, is Mbot hilarious and amazing.
Oh my god, he's so funny.
Mushrooms.
Mushrooms.
It's one of like Brandon's I think highest achievements of comedy. I'm just, oh my god, this character.
Yeah.
Every conversation with him was absolutely hilarious.
I know. The book starts when Mbot turns on in some part in my brain. It's like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah.
I love Mbot. I wish we could have seen the Mbot and Rig just together in the caverns when Spencer wasn't there. That would have been amazing and hilarious.
That would have been hilarious.
I know.
Book 2, Rig and Mbot.
Mbot roasted Rig being like, I'm trying to fix you here. And he's all like, oh yeah, with your squishy human hands. Go on then.
Why don't you find me some mushrooms,
Give me some mushrooms.
The thing I loved was his entire thing about, oh, I am not a sapient machine. Like, I don't have free will because humans told me so, blah, 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 blah. And at the end, where he rewrites his own programming, thereby proving that he is a sapient being.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was just having this conversation. We have the setup that he can rewrite his own code, just maybe not for something so serious, but he does and he can. And it's like the culmination of his entire book-long conversation with Spencer. He is a living being. He is a person.
I was so upset when Mbot was shutting down. I'm like, what? No, that
This
hit
can't
me
be
so
happening.
hard. And then, I mean, Mbot's gonna come back because come on.
Yeah.
But
I
just
wondered
seeing
actually.
how that
I was
happening,
took a long
and then
time.
Cobb's there. Like, I don't even know how Cobb got there, but I don't even care.
My brain broke for a second when he turned up in Mbot, and I'm like, how is this happening? What is happening? What is going on?
I actually don't know how Cobb got out there.
Mbot used the radio that Spencer gave.
Okay.
That Spencer's radio that Spencer gave back to Cobb.
I guess that's right. But
yeah,
still, whoa, Cobb's there. What? What? That's crazy.
I liked as well I didn't look like the mushroom thing. I didn't like the mushroom thing. Every time he mentioned mushrooms, I was kind of rolled my eyes until the very last mention when he's like, wait, is he just doing this for free? And he's like, I'm doing this. All you got to do is give me mushrooms. And I'm like, I like you.
Spencer says, you're still on about that.
Yeah, it was kind of like you're fighting and stuff like that, but you're still on about this mushrooms. Like, okay. That felt like a good payoff to that joke.
It really did. If it didn't have that last moment, I would feel like, yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah. But it made it all
mushroom
work
guy.
Mushroom
bot.
I also loved that at the end, Mbot was just like, yeah, I kept the mushroom thing. I rewrote the rest of my code, but I like that I am super into mushrooms, so I just kind of kept that part of it.
Yeah. That was amazing. And Mbot, I can't decide between whether I like Mbot or Cobb, because I'm just going through the book. I see a Cobb scene and I just say, Cobb is amazing. Cobb's the best. And then we get an Mbot scene. Mbot's amazing. Do we have final reaction and thoughts on?
I want the sequel.
Pretty much.
I really
This
want
was
the
such
sequel,
like this was. I think this was one of Brandon's like best works, like technically and like in terms of like character writing, one of his best.
It's a really good intro Brandon book. It's not too long, which is a benefit, right? Doesn't get people into Cosmere, so you know.
Yeah.
But
it swings around about.
Yeah, but it's well written, good character development, good ending. I feel like it has the classic Brandon stuff, and the action was good. The characters were good. Our nitpicks are pretty personal in some ways.
Ben.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're not wrong about, you know, some of the payoffs and stuff, but like that's obviously sequel bait, right?
Yeah.
That did we need to know more about Detritus right now? No. There's 3 more books, so if we don't get them at the end, I will have my pitchfork ready. I'm with you on that. But it's a really good intro Brandon book because it's well written, intense, like very surprisingly intense, I feel.
Yeah. My final thoughts is you can almost feel how much he's grown as a writer in terms of character from this book.
Yeah.
Like Oathbringer has some really good character stuff in there, but I almost feel like he's gotten all that really good stuff he's clearly learned over the years. I recently was doing Mistborn Era 1, and like like the change in how he treats characters and like the way that the like emotional aspects and character moments and like relationships, interactions. I feel like this is his strongest book in terms of characters that he's ever written.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most emotional as well. Like I was constantly like I was like really upset sometimes, and I was really hyped sometimes.
I know.
And I was like tense, anxiety, and like sweat.
You do feel lots of feels. You feel a lot when you read this book, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Ian, Grace, any final thoughts?
Like I said, I just want the sequel. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too much. Oh, I love the artwork. The art was really nice.
The what? The art.
Yes.
Sorry, your mic just went up.
Little ship designs, yeah.
Yeah,
that was cool.
I haven't looked at all the art yet.
It's just, and Eric is a bad fan.
Oh.
Yeah.
I read this book a while ago. I'm sorry. I didn't reread it for the podcast. I'm going off memory from a while ago. And there was no art in that version, okay? Come on.
I will admit that the first time I read a Brandon book, I usually just skim over the art, and then it's only when I'm like doing Coppermind work or something that I actually really look at it.
I find like it's
these
easily,
fabrials?
There's one page of art, and then I'll look at it to make sure I've looked at it, and then I'll just keep reading.
Yeah.
I like that you mentioned artwork when I'm probably the only one here with the best artwork version.
The UK cover art, yeah, it's so good. I was just about to ask you. I'm just like, can you send me one?
The UK art,
so
the cover art's good. I don't think the US cover art is bad. Like I
just think the UK art is just completely superior.
Yeah. Well, that's true. I'm glad for UK artwork not being in the exact same style as all the Cosmere books. God, that's really old for me.
You could probably put them on a shelf together, and also I'm kind of with you there. I kind of hope that the kind of moves on a little bit, but it's kind of, I think it's in the same kind of style. But like, I just love that arc so much. Should we go to
the Cosmere ones are Cosmere ones are so minimalist
or electronic.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, guys. So it is time, and I'm so excited for those of you on video right now. Those of you on audio, you don't know what is about to occur, but I'm so excited for Who's That Cosmere Character?
Who's that Cosmere character?
All right, guys. We're not doing Skyward characters. We're doing Cosmere characters. So if you were like, yeah, that book sounds pretty great, but where's my Cosmere stuff? Well, we're gonna do that here. So whatever.
We had a whole conversation before the podcast where I was like, oh man, I should write some Who's That Skyward characters, and then I just didn't. So
we'll do that later. Like that's fine. We can do that. But
Cool.
You know, I'm ready to get back into some Cosmere stuff right now. So
Yeah.
Let me just reach over and get my phone that I've been using as my light this whole time.
Yeah. Those of you watching, like, see how his face looks like a tomato right now with less lighting. Yeah, we're gonna fix that lighting setup. Not all of the podcasters have spent lots of money on video setup looking equipment and stuff like I did.
Cool. So, welcome to Who's That Cosmic Character? This is the game show where you guys send in characters with 5 clues to Who's That Cosmic Character at gmail.com, and then I read out those 5 clues to the Shardcasters here, and they have to try and guess who the character is. They get 1 guess per clue, and if they get to the 5th clue and no one can guess it on the 5th clue, then they lose because they suck. If you guys at home, if you beat the guys here, then put it in the comments and tell us how much you beat them by.
Wait, but there was also someone who was that? Who made an amazing spreadsheet of Who's That Cosmere characters?
Yeem.
And the winners.
Start with a H in the middle, so I don't know if we spell it. They say,
it was Yim, like YHM.
YHM. Good shout to you, because he made a fantastic spreadsheet of not just who won, but also every podcast they won on, and who was on that podcast, and who was hosted. So,
however, I will say that we don't get 2 points if people said things simultaneously, and I feel that is unduly hurting my score. Okay, all right. Anyway,
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'm sure you are, Ian. All right, let's start.
Cool. Okay, so this one was sent in by Singer on the forums.
All right.
Okay. So, this character is popular among the Alethi war camps.
I have to think carefully.
I'm gonna go with Adolin. Screw it.
Is it Sadius?
It is not Adolin, and it is not Sadius.
Oh, that's how you pronounce that.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know.
Don't listen to what Ben says on
do not take what I say as law.
No, never.
Okay. Popular.
I just learned to go with low-hanging fruit on some of
Yeah,
these.
just get the obvious out of the way.
Like, it's clue 1.
I'll go with Kaladin.
It is not Kaladin.
That depends on what time of...
Words of
war
Radiance.
camps.
He's popular.
I'd say he's pretty popular in the war camps, yeah. Anything, Ian? Sorry, Eric.
I said Adolin.
Oh.
I did it again.
That's fine.
Anything, Eric?
I guessed Adolin.
Oh, did you also guess Adolin?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You also guessed Adolin at the exact
I think
same
we
time.
should guess Adolin at the exact same time, yeah.
Cool. Okay, so clue number 2. This character is friends with Dalinar.
Abram.
It is not Amaram.
That's...
friends with Dalinar. Shoot. Is it Sibariel?
It is not Sibariel.
That's a good guess.
Yeah.
Should we guess there, Grace?
Is it Kadash?
It is not Kadash.
How popular is he?
Don't know.
Yeah, I don't know
How
either.
many friends does Dalinar have?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point.
Like, how many friends of Dalinar's are popular with the war camps? That's
yeah. Just gonna go with Navani. I don't know.
It's not Navani. Oh, wait, I should have mentioned this one's really hard.
Okay.
Oh.
All right.
Okay.
Clue number 3. This character loves war.
Oh, is it the Thrill?
It's Nergal.
Oh, yeah. I should have said this one's hard. I should not have said that this one was going to be a difficult
No,
one.
people would have gotten it regardless of whether you say that. Come on.
Nergawal, also known as the Thrill. I'm going to give that one to Grace.
Popular among the war camps. That is a good first clue. I will say.
I will just say that the Thrill is an effect, not a thing. But okay.
But the clues were number 4.
Welcome to Pedantic Cast, the Brandon Sanderson Pedantic Cast.
Number 4 was this character has a strong influence, and clue number 5 was going to be this character is an unmade.
Well, there you go.
Got it eventually.
That's a really great set of clues, actually.
Yeah, I like that. I'm into that. That was good.
Well done, Sing. Cool. This is the one that I've been wanting to do for a while.
Okay.
This one isn't Who's That Cosmere Character. This is a Where is that Cosmere place? Because this is
oh crap! I should be really good at this because I do so many location place things on the Coppermind. Watch Ian get it instantly and me not.
Yeah. So this is not a character. This is a location. So clue number 1: this place is hard to get to.
Cell.
It is not Cell.
Haldane.
It is not Haldane.
This is definitely not going to be a planet, but we just have no other information, so sure, why not?
Yeah.
Hard to get to. Shadesmar. No.
Some people, yeah.
That's a solid guess.
I'll go Yolen.
It is not Yolen.
I was like, someone's got to guess Yolen. Watch it not be a planet at all. It's no way.
This clue number 2. This place has many dangerous animals.
Patchy?
It is Patchy!
Yeah! And it's a 6 of the dust thing. Take that! Boom!
I completely accepted this one because technically also a character.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah.
Patchy being versus Patchy location is slightly different, but yeah.
Great lead-in. Great lead-in. Yeah.
That was very good. Well done. Sorry, that was sent in by Luke Weber. So well done. Who sent in?
Thank you, Luke.
I am totally down with what's that Cosmere location. I think that's fun.
It's fun. Yeah.
The clue number 3 was going to be this place is surrounded by water. This place shares the name with an animal, which I don't remember that part of Six of Dust, but
maybe
cool.
that's supposed to be for the being, but I don't know.
Maybe.
If you define animal very broadly.
Clue number 5 was this place is on First of the Sun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good job.
I read it once like 3 or 4 years ago. So.
Yeah. Well, they give me so much crap about it, so
yeah.
You know. All right, guys. Well, great. +1. Me. First of the Sun. Easy. Please feel free, you guys, to pick out what's that Cosmere location from the Sea of Lost Lights, because I wrote all those. Hey, cool. Just saying. Great, guys. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video podcast. Hopefully, it will, in fact, be on video if I recorded everything correctly. And so, it might be audio. But I think I got things set up correctly. Follow us on 17shard.com. We have all the news, games, discussion, theories on Cosmere, Skyward, and other stuff, too. So come there. Follow us on 17... I guess I did that already. Whatever. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Now you should really hit that subscribe button because now there's going to be videos of Shardcast. It's always going to be on video. Hopefully you guys won't mind the slight dip in audio quality because I have to use the Skype audio so it syncs up with the video.
Do you mind? Let us know.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, complain below. I don't know how to video edit, so that'll be fun. And leave us a review on iTunes, and we will see you next time. And next time, I will just say, get hyped, because it's going to be Cosmere pronunciation next week. Get hyped. Yeah. And it's a good one. So, we will see you all next time.
Bye.
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 Blame the stars, listeners.
Aw.